All right, so welcome to the Last Rabbit podcast. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Kevin the Creator, and today here live on YouTube, uh, co-guest co-star co-host
The
John
live's getting
and
them.
Dan. Yeah, it's getting to
There we
me.
go. All right.
So let's just get right into it. Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th. Um, and you know, basically on school grounds. Uh, so with his death, there's a lot of outrage on, basically celebrating his death, and like that's bizarre to me, you know.
Mm.
And then if you think back even to like the CEO who got killed, and
Yeah.
by Louis Maggiano, some shit, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
Luigi.
Mm.
That wasn't a, I wouldn't say that was a celebration either and stuff. It was just people weren't like they just weren't so much bothered by it. It's like, oh
Right.
well, But this was more of a celebration. And what did you guys take on this? And oh, before we even start, if you're listening and you want to jump in, like come on the live, uh you can go to the comments and click on the comments and you should be able to just jump into the podcast. Only rule is you got to have your screen on. That's it. One rule.
Mm.
All right. So, what'd you guys takes on this stuff? John, let me start.
Well, I mean, it's a tragedy. It's a true tragedy. His family will miss him. You know, and for it to happen in front of them like that, it's horrible. It really is. But the divisive nature of politics in this country. I mean, these tragedies are going to happen. I mean, his this kind of attack isn't the first time. This has been steadily upticking for a while. All this whataboutisms, and I I wish that I I could be inspired by a leader that's trying to bring both sides together. For me, he was way too divisive. I'd like to find someone that can reach across both party lines or both interests, if that's such a thing. The gap has to be bridged, and he was not a bridge. He was a chain link fence, shutting that shit down. Celebrating, I wish people wouldn't show their asses, you know, um, but that's just a sentiment, and those are the extremes. It's not everybody, you know. I saw the shot. It was horrible. It was disgusting, Free speech, I believe in it.
All over social media. And I think that's
Yeah,
bizarre. I'm always
yeah,
getting my stuff banned from just my speech and stuff, whatever I'm talking about.
sure.
And that I seen on every platform. It was on TikTok, it was on, Instagram, you know.
Right,
I don't,
right.
I don't even think
Everywhere.
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the technology of the day. I mean, that's how it goes. It travels fast.
That's what
Everybody
they
wants to
want you
be
to
the
see.
first.
They want you to see this.
Right,
They want you to see
right,
this.
right.
You
That
know,
too. That too. Or maybe the world is just dialed in. Everywhere. I mean, there's almost complete coverage. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone's got a camera. Everyone's patched in.
Dan,
Yeah.
what's your take on this?
Um, to be honest with you, these last 4 days have been some of the toughest of my life. Like it's been really, really hard. And I say this as somebody who wasn't a Charlie Kirk fan. I didn't really. I've listened to him. I've listened to his stuff. Sure, I've listened to a few podcasts, but if I ever wanted conservative news, he wasn't the person that I seeked out. But I've been in a haze. Like this has affected me more than I think I told John this earlier. This felt like a little bit like 9/11, and that was a
Mm,
long time ago. And that's crazy to say, but
mm,
the thing is, and I've gone through every emotion in the book, about this. And I'm the person that usually talks about how these deaths are usually, 7,000 people in America die a day. You know, if a death is emphasized, it's usually for propaganda reasons for one side or the other. And that's usually the take that I take on a lot of this stuff. Um, it bothered me a lot,
mm,
and it shook me a lot. I've I watched the Packers Commanders game the other night, and I couldn't tell you a thing that happened in the game. I watched 3.5 quarters of it. I couldn't tell you, other than the Packers won, I couldn't tell you anything that happened in the game because my mind has been
Mhm.
somewhere else.
mm,
I've sat in empty, in the room empty by myself for hours, just like in thought. Um, and the reason is because I know what the left says about Charlie Kirk. Like I understand, they're good, but the reality is, it's what they say about every conservative in America. You're an ist and a phobe. I don't know any Republican that hasn't been labeled an ist or a phobe. I really don't. But I try to tell people the best analogy I can come up with to explain why this is like has bothered so many people is that Charlie Kirk kind of was like the Ned Flanders of the right, and from The Simpsons, and that's the best way that I can. He was the dorky, nice, super nice guy, super polite guy. You know, never said anything like, I know people say he said controversial stuff, but people on the right would say he never said anything, really anything controversial. You know, he was, the super super nice. He was like Ned Flanders, you know, and then you see Ned Flanders get gunned down, in a pretty bad manner, and then in front of his wife and kids, and then you see people just taking the piss out of him
Mm.
afterwards,
On a public stadium. On a public
and
stadium, he was assassinated.
right,
and I think what the left doesn't like, what a lot of people, when you see it on Twitter, and you see a lot of the reactions on the right, is that like, well, if this dorky Ned Flanders guy, you know, who was super nice to everybody. If you look at people's eulogy, people that knew him, they all that's what they is like in this cutthroat business. He was like this, like the really nice guy, polite guy, and super Christian guy. And then to see him celebrated, his death being, by tens of thousands of people. And it's not, your crazy college Starbucks loony. It was teachers, it was mental health professionals, it was nurses, and all these other real established careers. It was the message that kind of was sent, that feels like was sent to everyone on the right, and I feel it too, is that like, well, if he's not good enough, then nobody is really, and you really are okay with everybody on the right getting killed and being celebrated. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of the reaction from the right is that response is like, well, if he's not good enough, nobody's good enough on the right. So like, it's we're coming at you there. That's kind of, not that that's right, but I've had more, Kevin, I texted you about, those people making those kind of Facebook comments. And like, I made sure I said 3 times in the message, like, I'm not coming after you. but someone might, you know. And if you these people are anything to you, like I would message them, you know, because you know I almost did it to somebody, you know, if we're keeping it real on my Facebook. I saw somebody post horrible stuff and I had it queued up. I had everything queued up. I had the person who I needed to send it to. It didn't take long. And it just, I sat it in my inbox. I literally stared at it for maybe a couple hours and just like, it's been real conscience of crisis that part of me feels like I should. This person is around children. This person is around Republican children on the right, you know, the specific person. I shouldn't have this person be around anyone who, you know, feels that way about, you know, Republicans, that they feel like they should all be dead. Why would I send my kid to there, you know, in reality, if you think about it? And but I think you're seeing a lot of that. I
Yeah,
ultimately talked to a couple
that's pretty
people.
bad. That's pretty hateful. Yeah, you know,
I
when
talked to a couple friends of mine who are also on the right, and they told me not to do it. And honestly, if one of them said do it, I probably would have done it. But they both said don't do it. Be, you know, be the better person. Be, you know, a Christian. And I didn't do it. And I don't even feel that good about it, to be, you know, saying, you know, oh, you did. I don't know that I did, but I don't know. I don't know. That was a whole long soliloquy of kind of just what's been on my mind. Like I said, I haven't slept much in the last 4 days. This has bothered me way, way, way more than I thought it would. And I have very unease for the future of this country because I don't think this is going to go away. I
Mhm.
think it might take a tragedy on the left for this to stop because I just don't see it. You know, I don't with the state of play. I don't know. I'll try to, you know, stop right there for a minute. But
You know, ultimately, personally, American people are very easily spooked into camps. Very easily, very quickly. Doesn't take much. I mean, there's no organized movement on the left. There's no names. Antifa is not a group. It's just a bunch of people getting together, just doing something. There's no leader. There's nothing. Just people who meet and say Antifa. Um, Black Lives Matter. I mean, you know, I'm not sure about that, but they're not organized. So whatever violence that comes from the left, it's usually a lone wolf, or like when it's someone on the right. That's what they say. It was a lone wolf on leaning right or leaning left. I don't know. I just to imply that this is going to go on, to me that really sucks. That really sucks because there's a bigger picture at play. You know, the state of our country. It's important that we get over this shit. You know, personally, you know, there's a lot of things that are just constantly being swept under the rug. There's conversations that won't be had. You know, if we all can't agree on the fundamentals, the basics, then no one's not listening to anything the other person's saying. I mean, you know, referring everyone on the left, on the left, on the left, on the right, on the right, on the right. I mean, I get that, but we have to meet in the middle because obviously there's something wrong. You know, we need to talk about it. There's something wrong. You know, just to say that the opposition is always a certain way. It's not. It's just countrymen disagreeing on the state of the politics. Again, no disrespect to Charlie Kirk, but from a black person's point of view, he's not a positive force for the country because I would say, and I can't speak for all of us, but you know, what about us in your America? The way you keep describing it, because you know, I get it that you might have seen the good parts of him, and I've seen the good parts of him, but in other interviews when he's pressed and he answers, I mean, to us, he's scary. Like, what kind of fucking shit is that to say? You know what I'm saying? We're trying to move forward, not backwards. So his language to us is upsetting. And he didn't say it once or twice off the cuff. This was part of his mantra. Wherever he went, he pretty much, if you asked him these questions, he'd say it again, like spouting off crime statistics. You know, um, are you trying to help or are you trying to exploit something? Are you grifting? Because we know that there's problems in the black community. You have a platform. Why don't you do something positive rather than running around and telling people that African Americans commit this much crime? We know there's crime. We're looking for solutions, not someone agitating the other side and getting them mad. And we need more than that. And we need way more than that. We don't need someone that's trying to push us backwards and try a hierarchy system. People have come too far at this point to just turn back. It's not going to work. We have to unite. Charlie Kirk is not a platform for vengeance, man. This is an opportunity for us to, hey, before this shit gets out of control, come on, let's solve problems.
How are you going to unite with people that when you saw tens of thousands of people celebrate, not like
Yeah.
just be like, oh, I didn't like him, whatever, sucks he died, but are gleefully happy.
Well, I mean, that's designed to spite the right. We all know that. They're not doing it because they truly are angry at him in particular. It's to get a rise out of the right. It's to do that. It's to show you guys how they feel about him. I don't agree with it. I don't gloat. I would never gloat. There's no reason to. There was a tragedy at hand. Respect it. That's it. You can have your opinions, but the disrespect, I agree with you. That's wrong. But man, it's just mass protest. I mean, it's bigger than just Charlie Kirk. It's bigger than that. It's everything that's going on in the country. This is a symptom of a greater problem. This is something else. It's a high stake one. Granted, it's a big one for a lot of people. It's extremely big. But like I said, but there's other points of views, and because of that, we got to meet in the middle. He can't be everything because he's not for us. We need somebody for everyone. Someone that can go down the middle, not someone for some and nothing for the rest. That doesn't work. We got to go forward, not backwards. Because
So
if you don't want to hear it, we'll never stop talking.
Well,
so
I just
so oh,
go ahead, John. Or
so
no, go
so
ahead, Kevin.
so September 11th. Okay, I'm driving from work. I'm listening to Joe Rogan's podcast. Been listening to it throughout the day and stuff. And the whole podcast he was talking about was like magic bullets, assassinations, JFK. Uh no, for real.
Yeah,
And he
oh,
was
I believe
talking
it.
to
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen, and he was talking about his career and stuff, and it was a good podcast and stuff. But that was the whole podcast, and then the last 20 minutes or what have you, they discover that there was an assassination, and then there's like, they informed the public and stuff. But I thought that was a bizarre like universe kind of telling you maybe, like
I
you
was
know,
talking about Charlie Kirk right before I found out he died. I was
mm,
playing Age of Empires and I was talking to somebody on the mic and we were just talking about maybe he knew and I didn't know because I wasn't checking my phone at that point. But I was just like not 30 minutes before I found out. I was just talking about him and I was telling him I wasn't that big of a fan of his, to be honest.
Mm.
Like, because if anything, he was like he was too nice, and that's like I said, that's where like I hear what John's saying, meet in the middle, meet in the middle. But I think after, you know, Trump getting almost killed and, and then this happening, I just, I, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't, at least in the short term, I don't,
But
not that
okay,
I don't feel that way. Not
but
that I
then
don't.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
All right. right. When the left. I mean, I, I'm still not convinced that he has any left ties. I don't think he was indoctrinated. His grandmother released a statement, and in her statement, she said that, yeah, they're Trump supporters. They're MAGA. They're MAGA all the way. She dispelled some of the rumors like the dad doesn't work at a police station. He does something else. There were little inconsistencies and things like that, but the
You talking about the
grandmother,
assassin?
the assassin, yeah,
Okay.
right. So, you know, different people have different agendas. It's not always just a party thing. The
Yeah.
the character that shot at at Trump, to me, he was a stooge. A real stooge. If you're gonna take such a high level shot, some training was important. There's no reason he should have missed, but he did. So I
Well,
don't
there was
know.
a lot of there's a lot of suspicions about even the Trump one. And it's like, he shouldn't have been able to even get a shot off. The
Right,
special, the people up there seen him. you know.
right.
So it's like, like with conspiracies like that, and then, you got this 22-year-old amateur, you know, kid,
He had
is
training. He had some training. Like
did
his
he?
father was, yeah. I mean, a little bit. His father was big into guns. His father was a right winger. I think we just differ on if the son was, and I would say, his family and his friends said he was, a left winger. He had Antifa messages on the bullets.
Mhm.
He
Yeah,
was
but
in
okay, but
supposedly some
but okay, but see,
transgender relationship with his roommate. Like,
Did he?
well, all this,
I
that's
mean,
what's
I'm
being
on the left.
reported. But,
I'm on the left. I don't do these things. I mean, this is not
I
a
hear
it's
you.
not a left thing. I don't do
It's
nothing
it's
like
just a
that.
catch-all phrase because there's not what term what somebody who I get what you're saying, but
We have way more in common than we have. Politics is such an ugly thing because it's an emotionally based system. It's all emotions, and everyone wraps it all into politics. It's like the place where you can be emotional. It's like in like-minded people.
I don't. Are we so obviously we're humans
Right.
on that level, but I don't know that the right and the left agree on much anymore. I don't know that that's the case.
Well, I don't know, man. To me, man, the bigger conspiracy to me is, the country is being distracted. Most of the things that we fight about are part of a greater distraction. The middle class shrinks every so often. It's shrinking. Home
Yeah,
ownership for the next generation is it's going to be very rare.
yeah.
Building up generational wealth may be a thing of the past. People talk about it in history books, but don't do that now. I think that's the greater problem if we don't address it, bring it up to our leaders because they're stepping on the gas. Meanwhile, we're doing stuff like this, arguing culture wars when we should be
So
trying to find an American culture that we all agree on, not just sports.
so
But
so
what did you
Charlie,
have the same? I was to say, did you have the same sentiment though after George Floyd was killed? Because it's kind
George
of.
Floyd.
Did you be
I
like,
mean,
oh, we got to come together, oh, we got to come together, oh, we got
of
to.
course, of course. I mean, George Floyd was just, another story, but the message it doesn't change. I mean, me being a little older, George Floyd's death is not like the first big scale death or
Sure.
big police action. There's a bunch of them. They happen every so often and it makes the news and it gets the country riled up. That was just the latest one. Just I expect there'll be more in the future. That's just
so
how
so
it is.
my thing about Charlie though is so he was demonstrating like free speech. I've listened to him on a couple of his podcasts.
Yes,
Well, not his
yes,
podcast, but I've listened to like a couple podcasts where like
yes.
he would sit down. I think it's called Jubilee, but he would sit down with like 25 different people, whoever could get to the chair, is able to debate with him. I love debating. I love watching debating more or less, and
Mm.
there's a skill to it. If so, basically, if you
Sure.
could out debate somebody, you win. you know.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
feel
Sure.
like that's a more better thing to like publicly humiliate somebody instead of
Yeah.
assassinating them in front of their,
Yeah.
wife and kids
Yeah.
would be beat him in a debate. He's going to these campuses, before a time that he's going to be there. He's like promoting his tour.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with everything he said. You know, some things, I did agree with. And,
Mm.
something, it was like, he had his points, it was like, okay, college is a scam. I was like, okay. And then it
Right.
was like, can you prove me wrong? And it's like people go up there trying to debate him and shit. I was like, I like it. I see him more as like a YouTuber fucking kind of guy. Uh, Now mind you, but don't take nothing wrong by saying like, YouTuber, a lot of people, are
Mm.
fucking, you know, YouTube helps a lot of fucking people get their message across. You know,
Absolutely.
he was in, he was coming, you know, in contact with like, the president and everybody. So he was, getting bigger and bigger. They were scared that he was going to become, or he was in line to becoming the next president.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
Someday he probably could have been.
he could have been. A lot of people could, uh,
But he has to be a man of all people. He can't just represent one demographic. He couldn't be president. The country is going to erupt in more anger. Man, we need to find it's got to be someone outside the box.
So if
Someone
Trump
that
can
can
win, Charlie Kirk couldn't
transcend.
win.
No, no, I don't think so because he's too polarizing. He is way too polarized. I know, Dan, you don't see it, but because you're a
But
white
Trump
male.
can win. If Trump
No,
can
no,
win, how can't
yeah.
Charlie Kirk win?
The
If you talk about
opposition to
polarizing,
The opposition to Charlie Kirk is going to be much stiffer. All right, because I know you have a different point of view. I have a different point of view. But like I said, from our point of view, he is not a friend to the black community. We have issues that need to be addressed, and we're waiting for someone that wants to sit down and address them. He absolutely refuses on any level to discuss our grievances. Instead, he wants to regress the relationship by suggesting that his sense of hierarchy is important. He's going to give, Christian white males some type of higher authority in the country, a sense of being
eh,
better. I'm not making it up. It's coming out of his mouth. I'm watching this compilation of the things that he said. All
you're
you
watching. Yeah, you're watching piece together 5, 10 second clips
no,
instead.
not just that. I've been following Charlie Kirk for a good 3 years. A good 3 years worth when I first heard about him, and follow him casually. Sometimes I watch his podcast, and you're right. People's behavior is more complicated than that. It's not as simple as if I accuse you of being a racist, that you do all the racist things. It doesn't work that way. I don't mean that all racists behave the same way, but they do things that could be interpreted as racist. But everything else is cool. I get along with you. We can pose in a picture together. I'll say some things that I know that you like to hear, and you can retort. We can retort back and forth about these issues and things like that. But ultimately, it doesn't. It's not what we want. I'd rather have someone that can reach both sides, so both sides are not upset. We both give up something. To me,
I
he's
don't
too
know how that's
extreme. He's
possible.
too. We have to find someone. There's this past.
Who?
well,
There's this pastor, young guy, man. I wish I could remember his name. Young pastor, man. Man, he speaks in a way that I enjoy. He's refreshing. If I get this guy's name, I'll let you know. But he's
But
refreshing.
that guy's never going to be president. A
Mm,
pastor?
no, he's not. I don't know. I know he's religious. I know he's stands at a podium at a church, and he does sermons,
Yeah.
but he also makes commentaries about things. And I don't know. I think They say he's a rising star in some circles. So I'll find him. I'll share it with you.
so Charlie had chances maybe of becoming president. Good chances, like in the eyes of Republicans, you know.
Right. Yeah. And they're right.
That's
There you
that's
go.
the main point. And so, but the thing is, like, if the Republicans have like this clean, cut fucking person to, that they're going to like, bring it up to be president, and then Democratic kind of people fucking assassinate him allegedly. And then what happens is a retaliation. Soon as the Democrats get their fucking next person who's like, this is our fucking guy, and then he gets assassinated, and it's like, you don't get nobody, I don't get nobody. There's plenty of people who will pull out
Yeah.
these fucking assassinations and shit, and that's like what Trump needs to be thinking about. Well, he should be grateful about because he was grazed by a
He's
bullet and not, fatally struck him.
yeah, you mean the other guy, the other guy on the right that was almost killed by a bullet in the head. But yeah, I don't know,
But
man.
but remember, man, people on the left, we're not a gang. We're not organized like that. We're not,
Gang violence. Gang violence.
it's
Antifa.
it's not
That was
like
the
that.
last words. The last words of Charlie. Gang
Mm,
violence.
gang violence,
And it
yeah.
was like soon as that happened, that's what you seen on social media. It was
Right.
gang violence. Oh, people celebrating, people like, man, memes and everything. And it's like you don't do that to somebody who's like willing to debate with you first off. That's the biggest thing. It's like freedom of speech and freedom to debate. You know,
But
that's
remember, it's not people on the left. It's this one individual who did it.
no, for sure.
Everyone on the left is not
Well,
like part of some organized
he
efforts
might
of
have been a
whispering.
Democrat though.
You
He
know,
might good
He
chances he was a
probably
Demi.
was.
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, as
uh,
the days progress, we'll find out what his political ties were. I'm getting the information that tells me that he is a Republican. His family's Republican, and they're MAGA. So that's what I've been told. But I know there's some other sources that contradict that. So I'd say let the trial go on, and then we'll get more information. Right now, heads are hot, and
well,
people
he
want
couldn't have
their
been a
side.
real one then. He couldn't have been a real Republican or a MAGA if he was, he
Why would he
infiltrated.
kill Charlie Kirk?
He was
Because
If he
maybe
was
infiltrated.
he
a
was
real Republican, why
Yeah.
would he kill
right.
Charlie Kirk?
Well,
Spy.
then
He
that
was
that could be part of the conspiracies. Then that's when the conspiracies will start. Why would he? Maybe there's a higher power at work. Something he took a pretty good shot. I don't know if a professional sniper would say that's a textbook shot. You know, um, to hit someone
Well,
in
I've
the
heard
neck. That
martyr. I've heard
pardon,
martyr talk. I've
martyr
heard
talk.
martyr
Right.
oh,
talk.
he's being turned into a
Like
martyr, whether you think he should or
for
shouldn't.
sure.
Like that is what the
But I've
right is
heard like
doing right now.
So
conspiracies. I've heard conspiracies that that's what the Republicans wanted it to, like, like if they assassinated him and it's like now they have a martyr moving into like the next, and I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'm not saying I believe
Sure.
it.
I mean, everyone's thrown out, our favorite big blue
Yeah.
star too. I've heard it all,
yeah.
the mystery jet that
Well,
flew away, the
well,
hand signals in the crowd.
Charlie was seen on a podcast talking about, he's like, well, you shouldn't believe all the media and everything you believe with Israel. Okay.
Mm,
He was talking about this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
yeah,
And then, shit happened. And shit could
yeah.
happen very fast, rapidly, when you know,
Especially he has a huge following of youth. They need the conservative base to support them, and
he
the
spoke to the
conservative
young
youth is
guys. Yeah.
right.
Especially if Ben Shapiro is talking about taking over his work, which I've heard him do. Like, oh, I'm gonna, take over what, Ben Shapiro, huge big blue star guy, obviously.
Ben
Charlie Kirk really
Shapiro
wasn't.
canceled his fucking tour because he's
Yeah.
scared and shit. Other people ain't doing that shit. Like Michael, I forgot his name and stuff, but he's another
No.
Christian. He's continuing. He's good friends with him and stuff too. And he's like, I'm
Ben
gonna
Shapiro
continue.
is Israel first. So you won't see me defend Ben Shapiro on, anywhere because Ben
Well, that's who
Shapiro
he
is
was
Israel
talking to.
first.
He
He's
was
not
talking to
America
him.
first.
Hey, dudes, Ben Shapiro's eyebrows went up. He was like, and then he shook his head like, don't.
Oh, I'm going to take over Charlie Kirk's work.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not, buddy.
Mm,
Sorry.
yeah,
He's gonna clean it up.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Because there's a good portion of Charlie Kirk's base. They're upset about Israel. So he
yeah.
started pivoting. He started to pivot a little bit in his next outings, public speakings and shit like that, and they picked up on it real quick. You know, they need those conservative youths to help them go for maybe another 20, 30 years, maybe. You know, they're hoping to get that much. If they raise Gaza to the ground, then, you know, there's nothing anyone can do. It's gone. What do you want us to do? We'll just build on it, you know, and that's that.
So
Yeah.
let me just remind the listeners if you know, this is a call-in I was gonna call in radio. This is a call-in
Yeah.
podcast, so you can literally download the Zoom app and then hit the link, and you can come in and discuss these conversations with us if you feel like it,
Mm, mm, mm.
if
Yeah.
it pleases you.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. Or ask a question, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey.
a good question. Okay, good, lovely. Who doesn't love a good question?
Right. A question.
No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's just the world's
Yeah.
gone to, gone to shit.
Yeah.
Excuse my
it's
French,
not
but
getting any better. I
No, I
wouldn't,
mean
Hmm.
there's a lot of conflicts around the world. You know, this is the hot spot here. I mean, everywhere around the world, the embers, you know, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And once they touch, man, then it's a whole flame. You know,
But
everything is on fire.
he was very aware that like he could die doing this stuff. Speaking his mind. He was very aware about that. And
Malcolm
even
X
when he
was,
yeah,
Martin
even when
Luther
he got
King Jr.
shot though,
was.
yeah,
yeah, he had a
that's true.
vest on. Yeah.
If you
Malcolm
do what you
X,
do and
Martin
you're
Luther
really
King didn't
trying
have
to,
vests though.
that's
They
always a
should have
risk.
they should have had vests too.
Right.
Like the 50 Cent vest where it's like below the legs a little bit
The
as
reality
well.
is, the government probably killed Martin Luther King, so
Right.
The
Right.
government probably killed them all. That's
Right.
all. Honestly, the government probably had everybody killed.
Right. You know,
you
don't
know, yeah.
underestimate don't underestimate the deep state shit.
Yeah, that shit gets weird. It gets weird when you start to dig into it.
Yeah. Mm, mm. Well, we better not
It's
talk too much about it, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean,
Right. Right.
but freedom of speech and debating is very important, and I don't think people need
Very.
to be killed over that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You know,
Agreed. Agreed.
Can I hit on a couple, and we might agree on, I think we'll
There's-
agree on this. A couple things about this that annoyed the crap out of me.
Mm,
About the Charlie Kirk thing. One is the people loving his parents for turning him in.
mm,
He's gonna catch a charge. That if that guy, whatever he was in law enforcement or knew about law enforcement, I don't know. That guy's
mm.
he knows he's gonna catch a charge if he doesn't turn him in. So
Right.
like
reward
praising
money.
him,
Reward money.
I mean,
A
yeah,
hundred thousand dollars, right?
no, I think he already returned. I think he turned down the reward money smartly,
Oh,
or he
bullshit.
should have
I don't
had
know
it
if he did.
donated.
I don't know if
And
he
the other
did
thing
though.
was the FBI patting themselves on the back. They didn't catch shit. The guy turned himself in. So,
Mm, right.
I see
Good
Cash Patel
point.
up there, or even Trump, like, oh, great job, local law enforcement, FBI, all the pats on the back. It's like
Right.
the fucking guy turned himself in. You didn't do shit.
Right. Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
so
And
those
I
are
want to
the
hear
two
him.
things that,
I
oh,
mean,
go
I
ahead,
just want to
sorry.
hear him speak. I want to hear what he got to say. I want to
Mm,
hear why he did it, and like, let's get 48 hours in this bitch.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off for
No.
that.
No. No. You're
No,
good.
those just the two things that like, oh, the father's such a great noble, yeah, he'll do 20 years in jail or something like
Mm,
that if he doesn't turn him in. Like, and he
mm,
knows that. So
mm,
his wasn't some noble sacrifice, it was self-preservation.
mm,
And the
mm.
same with the FBI patting themselves on the back when if anything, they showed incompetence in this whole investigation, in my opinion. Like,
Right.
they didn't catch shit. The guy turned himself in by his family members. Like, so I don't know why you're giving yourself congratulations. You didn't really accomplish anything in my book.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's where
So and then another thing is like, they're
That's
talking about like security and stuff. They're like, oh, should we have more security in these things or what? And I'm like, well, he really wasn't even like he wasn't in the White House or anything like that. Like he didn't hold office.
no.
So like you don't need like special forces or like Secret Service or anything like that.
Mm.
It's just, random bullshit that's going on now. Like,
You
Yeah.
can't do that. It's not a, you can't be giving everybody in the world, police protection. That's not a thing.
yeah.
They can't be a thing. Even took it away from Kamala Harris, whether it's right or wrong, but you can't have an unlimited, you can't be protecting thousands of people around the world from, with
Mm.
armed security. That just You're supposed to have a safe society so that that's not necessary.
Isn't that really reserved for presidents and vice presidents?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so Kamala deserves it too,
And
then, right?
ex-presidents.
An ex-president, right? I mean, Kamala deserves it. She was the vice president.
Nobody gives a shit about Kamala Harris.
Kamala doesn't
Ah,
Kamala
That's the
doesn't
reality on the right. Nobody gives
Kamala
a shit
doesn't get
about
Secret
Kamala
Service.
Harris.
She doesn't
Huh?
get Secret Service.
She had it taken away maybe like within the last month or two, I think.
Oh,
hmm.
She had it for a while. I think you get it for a while,
wow.
but she
I
didn't
mean,
win.
see, it's shit like that. This is why we're never gonna get past this shit. China is gonna pass the United States, and we're still gonna be doing this shit. I mean, some people are gonna have to get over the fact that Americans come in a variety, and we need to move forward with that. For me, man, I just don't get it, man. There's just I don't hear one fucking solution. Not
There isn't
one.
one.
Someone needs to think of something. We need someone to think outside the box.
What's
I
the
mean, we
I
can't
don't
think of it because we're like in our corners. We're steeped in our corners. I'm ready to walk from my corner if someone's willing to walk from their corner and we meet halfway. Obviously, I'm a no one. We're nobody, so it's not like we can affect the country. But I mean, in that
yeah.
way, I wish because what's the alternative? It's not gonna end. It'll keep going. Trans are still gonna be bitching. The LGBT community is still gonna be bitching. Black people are
Yeah.
still gonna be bitching. I mean, like, come on, man. I mean, let's listen to what they're saying so we don't have to listen to this fucking shit forever. I'm ready for the next shit. I'm ready for like Three Eye Atlas, which will be here in November.
Well, you should be ready for President JD Vance because he's the heavy favorite right now on the odds maker to be
Replacement.
the 48th president, I think. And
Mm.
I don't know who runs, you tell me Gavin Newsom's not going to be JD Vance. I know he's trying to make his push right now, but
Mm.
I'll take
Mm.
JD all day in that fight over Gavin Newsom with especially after the Palisades fires and all that shit.
Mm. Mm.
Like what we talked about earlier, there's no opposition on the left on the Democrat side.
No, not at all.
There's nobody right now. So, like I said, like the Republicans are kind of running unopposed.
Yes, they
They
are.
might lose
Pritzker.
some in the midterms. I don't
They
know
got Pritzker.
now. It might be
It's
it
not
might
good
be
for black
radically
folks.
different. Huh?
Not good for black folks.
Lightfoot. She gonna run.
I'd said it's gonna get bad. I think it's gonna get bad until there's I hope it doesn't happen, but until there's a tragedy,
Mm.
I don't see the Republicans backing down after this because
No,
I think
no,
you
you're right.
just emphasized it, John. It was like you know, you think what happened was a tragedy, but you don't think Charlie Kirk was. I don't want to use I don't want to paint you. It wasn't the best of guys at times.
Right.
Whereas I think he was Ned Flanders, and a lot of people on the right think he was, if anything, he was nerdy, dorky, too nice,
Mm.
to people. And that's why we didn't like him in the first place. So if that's the divide, you know, I don't know how
Mm.
that gets bridged, especially when you see people, like I said, gloating and cheer. And like I said, this wasn't, if it
Mm.
was some loser college kid or some person working at, their local coffee shop, that'd be one thing. But
Mm.
there was a Secret Service agent, it was teachers, nurses, healthcare professionals,
Mm.
and now if why you think of from a, I say right wing, you've criticized me so much on it, but from a right wing perspective, like if I find out, if I send my kid to a school and I find out their teacher was actively cheering and celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, who I feel like he was Ned Flanders. Why in God's green earth would I want to send my kid to her?
Mm. Mm.
And I think that's where you're seeing the purge. Why would I want to send? Should I fear if I go to the hospital and I get somebody who was cheering Charlie Kirk's death, to be my nurse? How would I feel about that? Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel too good about that?
Or if or if they wanted all Republicans dead. Yeah.
Right. And that's what I tell is like that is
That
why this is
conversation,
as big
that
as it
that
is, you
yeah,
know.
but that conversation is there has to be a conversation. People feel the way that they do. It's not just in a vacuum. When you say Republican, for some people, it gives them a certain picture of a certain person that behaves in a very deliberate, specific way. And a lot of times when you get to know them, they do those things. You got to understand that in a different point of view and where we're at, two groups of people, two different ways of looking at the world. We're at a conflict, because no one has the answer. The right, they don't have the answer, and the left don't have the answer. Like I said, it's somewhere in the middle. But I'm telling you, oppressing people, that's not going to work. One group can't demand extra privilege from everybody. When we're dealing with that with the 1%, I would hate for it to be a caste system, in everyday society, an obvious caste system. Sounds like some dystopian future, low wage police state. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. But when we hear it, when we hear it, we key on those words. Like I always feel this. It's my opinion. Psychology. African Americans have a better psychological profile because when you're the oppressed, you're always looking at the oppressor to try to understand them, and you spend centuries understanding them. Getting their drift, knowing what they mean, but they don't take time out to truly know the ones that they're oppressing. You know, and I think that's always the conflict. You know, to me, they were taught something that's a generational thing about us, which divided us. I understand that there was a time when freed slaves and the working white class, we were potentially going to unite to form some type of labor union, national labor union, where all workers had something. That quickly got shut down by races. I mean, by the 1%, the elites, the ruling elites, by introducing racism into that potential relationship. And it's never been the same since. To me, it's pure manipulation. I don't understand why we can't listen to each other. I feel that even though when we say what we have to say, it goes over the head. No one actually addresses what we're talking about. And then they change it around and shove it in our mouths like Black Lives Matter meant something. It means that by all measurable societal metrics, there's something wrong. That's what they're saying. There's something wrong. Here, let me show you the stats. Something's wrong. I don't want to read the stats. I already know who you are. No, you don't. You've never taken time out to know me. You still don't. And that to me, that's what drives the misunderstanding. We don't know each other like that. But we, as looking up all the time, we have a much better understanding of why. So that's why we always say the things like we say. We have no reason to lie, make shit up. We're looking at it through different lenses. We see what you see, but you don't see what we see. And we're always arguing. We're trying to say something that they've been saying for, I don't know, 300 years. Not listening. I'm still not listening. I'm not
Well,
saying
what?
you. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general.
No,
Still, yeah,
no worries, no
yeah,
worries. I got you. What I would say, I think, here's the thing. I think, John, you grew up in, and I don't mean you grew up in a different generation than me. You grew up with,
right.
on the back end of the civil rights movement, and I understand that. And I understand, the craziness that was happening and that, a little bit in that time. Maybe I say that, but maybe I don't understand. But,
Mm.
I get what was going on. But on the flip side of that, I've grown up in a world where I have been discriminated against for jobs,
Mm,
college. I've been called every evil name in the book, just for being a white person. I have absorbed my generation, and the generation under us has absorbed the sins of the past, and they're
mm.
being taken out on my
As you should.
generation.
No, I'm just
As I
joking.
should, right?
I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I grew up in affirmative action. I grew up in, you want statistics is 95% of the new jobs that have been created have gone to non-white people.
Mm,
95% of the new jobs. There has been an
mm,
active discrimination against white people in this country for the better part of my entire adult life.
mm,
So I understand you have grievances, but I could say I can match, I've grown up in affirmative action. I've grown up in, you might be more qualified, but we have to meet this certain quota because we got, da 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 da. So it doesn't matter that you're more qualified or that you might be better for this job. We're going to discriminate against you because of your skin,
mm,
because you're white, and because there was slavery 200 years ago. And that's the kind of world I've grown up in, is like
mm.
I've
Okay,
grown up in this where
less context. You have less context. You have a lot less context. You're catching the anger, and I understand it. You're absolutely right. When I was younger, I heard this, and now you're the product of that anger I heard back then. You know,
yeah.
um, a lot of white guys were saying that they were losing their seats in college because of minorities. But then we find out within the last, I don't know, 10 years or so that no, what really, the reason why you might be losing your spot are because of legacy students, alumni who donate, get their kids to go to these colleges. Like that one actress, her kids were too fucking stupid to go to that particular school, but it didn't matter. They were legacy kids. And then they find
Roy
out that,
Laughlin.
oh, right. And there's a lot of them that do that. You know, when there's something given
But that's
or
really, really rich people, though. That's not.
well, not necessarily really rich people, really connected people. They don't necessarily have to be rich. You could be connected to power, and they're connected to power. Of course, they got more money than most, but they're not like rich. They just don't have to work hard like us.
But there's a reason why Gen Z is the most conservative generation that's ever existed, is because of the stuff, is because my generation, the younger generation, have been absorbing the crap
Mm,
that happened before us. And at some point, it's gotten to a point, and I think, where it's just like, I don't like it's I don't know. It's just like, it wasn't
I
me.
mean,
I didn't own any slaves.
okay,
I
but
wasn't there in the civil rights, but I'm the one that's being discriminated against. You're
all right,
right.
all right,
And people, and there's people,
okay,
that's
but I
a,
mean, what jobs are you talking about? I mean,
I'm not
there's
talking about me
just
specifically. I'm
no,
talking,
no. You're speaking in that general tone. I get you. That's where we're going with this. But no, I mean, I hear these things. It's not the first time I hear them. I mean, I don't know. White men overwhelmingly still have the highest employment rate compared to any other demographics. They still own the overwhelming majority of all the businesses and things like that. They absolutely own absolutely have economic control of the country. Everyone else has just a little piece. I think what you really should be focused on is the underclass that they're creating. It's just that your money is not going as far as it should. You know, because to me, that's the true struggle: is how we're going to provide for our families, how we're going to give our families the things that they need for the future. I mean, if these guys are digging into your pockets every day by paying us less and having us argue about it, I don't know. I guess it's just meant to be that
So,
way.
so the real problem is government.
Yes, hundred
Like
percent,
for real. Like if
hundred
you dig
percent.
down to it and shit, it's like they don't pay us enough. They tax us for everything.
Right,
It's like they
they're
tax us to
actively
build the
against
roads.
it.
They tax us to, yeah, they put up tolls when you're fucking passing them.
Right,
It's like, what the fuck? This ain't, it's
right, and
crazy. It's crazy.
again,
It's crazy. They tax your
it,
check. Like
every
how many
time.
hundreds, how much a month are you giving in taxes? I
Yeah,
know my shit's
Yeah.
extreme, and I've had extreme jobs where I was, because I used to be a cell tower climber, so I was making pretty good money, and I was getting taxed, like $800 a paycheck,
What state were you in?
850, huh? Illinois, I was
What
in
state?
Illinois.
Exactly. And who's in charge of
mm,
Illinois? You
mm,
should be
Yeah.
giving your money to people that don't work, that don't
Uh-huh.
contribute.
mm.
But imagine if you didn't have to pay taxes on at least just your what you earn, like what you go to work for. How that's like $800. That's some people have to pick up another job because of this situation. You
Right,
know. So you would be good. You'd be fine. You would have enough of everything if they just stopped fucking taxing you and they try to figure they think I'm like, "Oh, how could we make it better? How could we this that?" It's like, "Stop taxing me." You
right.
know. That's it, man. We got the
Be
roads.
careful, Kevin. You sound awfully Republican with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's what I worry about too. It's like they're gonna try to take me out maybe for some shit I said, you know, or some shit Dan said or John.
Well, I mean, if the government didn't collect the taxes that they, quote unquote, use to like repair infrastructure, like roads and shit like that, then stretches of roads would be owned by private companies, and they could charge you for riding on the roads and be subject to market fluctuations where you could be spending a lot of money just taking a trip down the expressway. You know, I'd rather the tax money go with the government because we could try to hold them to account, but a company, it's a private company, they do what the fuck they want to do. And that's the end of that.
If
I
they
don't
didn't
know.
tax you, if they didn't
Yeah,
tax you after
if
the
they
stuff
didn't.
that they've already built, like
No, I
we're
mean,
good now.
The
It's
toll
like
roads were supposed to be the Illinois
right.
toll roads were supposed to be a temporary thing. They weren't
I've
supposed to
heard
be a
that.
forever thing.
Yeah, I
exactly,
heard that. Yeah.
But they
exactly.
turned it into a forever thing when they found out how much
Sure.
money they were making. And
Right.
the roads still fucking suck in
Mm,
Illinois. I mean, they do in
mm,
Indiana too, but
right. Right. Do you get on that
Indiana's
Skyway?
got it some bullshit where they're gonna start taxing us on I-65 for on the speed limit. They're gonna start camera monitoring I-65, and if you go over the speed limit, they're gonna get a fucking tax. They're
Oh,
gonna send you a bill. And it's bullshit. And I
Yeah,
fucking hate it.
yeah,
And I've been
yeah. They
mm,
get you.
fighting these motherfuckers. I've been fighting my governor on this shit. I send them shit every fucking day
That's all they want to
on
do.
Twitter.
Speed cameras, all that shit. It's like, and then they just tax you and take from the people who fucking, make the city run.
yeah,
And
make the city
I,
run. Yeah.
it's like I
Indiana
got tired of
absorbed
this
the
shit.
Illinois cigarette
Yeah.
tax. I'm paying $11 a pack now. I used to pay seven
Exactly.
dollars, but
Wow.
they started taking the
Can't.
Illinois bullshit tax, Democrat
Yeah.
tax bullshit, and bringing it into Indiana. Now I'm paying 11 fucking 20 for a pack of cigarettes. It's fucking bullshit.
Mm.
It's
See,
crazy.
I see how we're agreeing on shit, man. We
That's
were
just like
right in the middle
seven
on that one.
dollars.
Yo, you
That's just
think we
like
should be
$7
taxed?
where
I
I'm
don't
at.
want us taxed.
No, I
Hey,
was saying I understand the taxes. It's to get certain
that's that
things
demi
done,
shit.
but
That's that Democrat
it's
shit right there.
no, but they overtax.
See,
No, the taxes are necessary. It's the overtaxing. It's the extraction. It looks so
they tax you
purposeful.
on your car. They
Tax
don't
on your
need that
car.
money. They don't
They
need that
don't.
money. At
No.
the end, they're fucking saying a $10,000 hammer because they pocketed all that shit.
Right.
It's like that's what Elon Musk was doing. He was like, hey, they've been doing this, and that, and then
Yeah.
shit hit the fan. But I
Yeah,
thought he was
the left
doing
started committing domestic terrorism on him. That's what happened, and he had to back out. When we
Mm.
talk about political
yeah, his
violence,
stocks
they
were
started
dropping. His
domestic terrorism on him.
Yeah,
his
I mean,
stocks were dropping.
there
He
goes
done
again
sold his
the left.
company.
I mean, I don't know. That's not something. I don't know anyone that does that shit, man. I've never met someone that does that. We're working with everybody and doing the same shit everybody else is doing. I mean, just like extra shit, man. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's something that you can characterize as violence on the left. I know you just, you're laughing, but that's a true thing. I just like, man, that's not a description of people that oppose you. That's a general term. It almost becomes like a slur. Like, whoa, man,
What would you describe what happened? How would we're gonna
man.
kill you, we're gonna firebomb, we're gonna key all your Teslas that we see out in public,
Right.
we're gonna harass every driver that owns a Tesla. What would you call that?
Well, I mean, okay. The funny thing about the Elon Musk situation, okay, when people felt that he came against the group of people that support him. The people that generally buy his car are the eco-friendly people, the people that
Yeah.
are trying to save the planet. And a lot of them felt like he turned his back on them immediately with his behavior.
And that was what was the funny part on the right, because in reality, it was really lefties doing this on lefties. It really was,
Right. Right. Well, or someone like Elon taking advantage of that mentality because he knew that there was a market there because that mentality will buy electric cars. They absolutely will. If they feel like they're doing something, they'll buy it. And he tapped into it. And it's more people on the left or of that mindset that support SpaceX. The right doesn't support them the same way people on the left do. I just didn't understand him. I mean, I wish he wouldn't have gotten to politics and focused on his businesses and kept his fucking mouth shut. Personally, excuse me, because he's a great person at what he does, and he should have kept doing that instead of getting involved in politics.
But
Because it ruined
he
his
got
brand.
involved in politics because he saw what was happening, and that's why he bought Twitter. Was he saw this
Yeah,
left wing agenda that was
Why is
taking over, and
politics
he
so dangerous though? That's the thing. It's like you should have stayed out of
because there's
politics.
a
Like
lot of
politics is
money.
not
man.
supposed to be dangerous though.
But
It's a
okay,
lot of
but
money because it's a lot of
yeah,
crime. It's like soon as you're in, you could be a good person, but soon as you get up there and in, they own you. You got to play the
right,
game and shit. And that's a
right.
Well, that's yeah, that's the is everybody's got a huge pack or a huge benefactor, supporting them, and
look at
Yeah.
Kennedy. Uh, what's his name?
RFK, or
Yeah.
what are you talking about, JFK?
No, no, no. RFK.
Oh, RFK, yeah.
He's in, look at the shit he's going through and shit. He's trying to fire people. He's firing people who's not listening to him and shit and going through all this stuff. He's trying to
Right.
explain to them and shit. He's like, they're not listening. They're not listening to what I said. It's like, all right, buddy. The lady's like, oh, well, I didn't want to fucking, go against morals and shit, shit.
Yeah.
He made me resign. I made her resign.
Well, the goal of this administration is to decimate the federal government. Like, I'll even admit that. The goal is to cut as many jobs as possible from the federal government. You
Make it
know,
weak.
That
And
shit, that
it
shit hurt.
will it will affect lower income people the most. The people at the bottom of the totem pole will be affected by it the most, and they know this. They absolutely know this.
ah,
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
the government doesn't produce anything. It only consumes.
No, no. I mean, all the services that are offered to the more fragile parts of of our society, people that depend on things, those cuts are going to be devastating. They're going to have a ripple effect. That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. We need people with solutions, not with this fucking backwards bullshit thinking, man. We need solutions right now. China is going to own us really soon if we don't fucking get over this shit. I'm telling you, we're not going anywhere. Because no one's not going to
What's the
back down.
solution? What
Man, I don't know,
I,
but I wish
Huh.
that
We can't kill the solution.
it
No.
kills
I'm
yeah.
not saying dude was the solution and shit. I
Not
just
at
said like,
all.
we
Not
can't
at
keep
all.
killing people. Like that's the
Right.
main thing. Like the next person
Right.
that is like this could be the it's like like hear them out like or whatever, go against them, but don't Like we cannot kill people over
You
what the
win at the
fuck
No,
they're
ballot
saying.
box.
absolutely no. Yeah, do it at the ballot box, man. I mean, he's there to be debated against. Everything he says,
Exactly. That's
should be able to rebuttal what he says. That's it.
and that's the
That's
And not
privilege
kill
about
him.
that shit. That's the privilege about that shit. I've heard people debate all kinds of things, you know.
yeah, yeah, totally.
I thought, I thought in response to the what happened to Charlie, I thought actually Bernie Sanders gave one of the better. If you saw, it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. I thought he
Mm,
gave actually one of the better, responses to what happened.
mm,
And I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy. Oppose. I actually don't oppose him. Mm, some of what he proposes, but I support some of what he says. But
mm.
I thought he gave like a really good, trying to give somebody on the left, some props. I thought Bernie Sanders it's on YouTube. He gave a
Mm.
good response, I thought.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it and listened to it. I'll check it out. Mm.
So it's crazy that YouTube bought us out from Spotify. You know, that's an
Yeah.
amazing thing.
Mm. Really
Yeah.
interesting.
I didn't
I'm
know that.
yeah, me neither.
You just said it.
Nah, I just checked.
Yeah.
No, but we're here with YouTube right now. Hell yeah. But like let's wrap this up. I want to do another one, not live, but I want to cover some other stuff that's a little more in depth. Uh,
Mm.
you know.
And then we can get back to the fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't just disagree with not getting to the fun stuff, but
Mm.
Hell yeah.
this happened, and then it was kind of hard not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big news person and stuff. As soon as I seen this shit, I was like, oh man, because I had to take a break, took a little break and stuff, and
Mm.
I was like, oh, where's my cape? And
Mm.
I'm just joking. But hell yeah, this has been another amazing podcast. On YouTube and Spotify and anywhere you would listen to a podcast. But we're trying to give you the real effect without being taken down and stuff by everybody else's guidelines. So YouTube's pretty laid back. Spotify is too. Hell yeah. Last
YouTube is
Rabbit
not laid
podcast.
back. Rumble's laid
No,
back.
they're not super laid back, but they're like you could smoke and drink with them.
Mm.
You know,
You should look at Rumble. If you look the Rumble.com.
I have Rumble too. I'm not a big fan of Rumble.
Mm.
I mean, they'll let us get
The
away with
only
a lot
people who
more.
watch Rumble are people who fucking only like use Rumble. Like I don't know, it's like Rumble people. I don't want to be that. I was like YouTube is like gold standard. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah. And this has been sponsored by Modelo. No, I'm joking. All right, so let me
The
stop.
average man.
All right.
What is the commercials?
So like and
Ooh.
subscribe. Yeah, yeah. It's been our pleasure. Last Rabbit Podcast. Thank you, John. Thank you, Dan.
All right. All right. All right.
Yep, yep, yep.